Hello everybody, Retro Gamer here, bringing you another YouTube narration. Now, as I promised, I'm going to get around to talking about E3, and it's not going to be very well organized. I'll admit that, first and foremost. Going to have to be going back and forth between different tabs, and I'm going to have to, I might talk a little bit about, what Sony announced, a little bit about what Microsoft announced, a little bit about Nintendo and all this other stuff. There was a lot of stuff to take in, and so that's one reason why I was trying to kind of avoid a lot of what was just, I don't know, there was a lot of stuff to discuss, and so there was a lot of stuff that I was like, maybe I shouldn't talk about it, but I decided, yeah, I will. Why not? Just for the heck of it. Now, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do them in the order in which they happen. So, of course, we're going to talk about Microsoft first, Sony next, and then Nintendo next, because that's the way that I prefer it. That's my preferred order. I have nothing but respect for all three developers, because each of them brings something different to the table. What Nintendo brings is something completely different from what Microsoft brings. And while I prefer Nintendo, and then I prefer Sony, and then I prefer Microsoft last out of the big three, I still have nothing against the Xbox One or the Xbox 360, because again, they all offer something different and they each have their own exclusives. So don't sit there and try to say that, oh, you're just being a fanboy or a hater or anything like that. I'm just trying to come at this from the way, as far as I feel with some of this stuff. So enough babbling about that. Let's get to talking about what Microsoft announced. And of course they kicked it off with Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, which I don't give a crap about. I know that a lot of people out there, they're crazy about Call of Duty. I can understand why. Advanced Warfare looked really nice with that little announcement trailer that they gave a little bit ago, but then they showed off the gameplay and it just looked like the usual dark gray dribble that you usually get from a lot of these games, and it's just not something that interests me that much. So there's that. I'm sorry. And then there's Dragon Age Inquisition, again, something else I don't really care about that much. Just not a big Dragon Age person. It looks like something that I would like, but they just come out with like a Dragon Age every year or 6 months or every week. So I mean, it's I don't know. It's just not my thing, I guess. Rise of the Tomb Raider, don't care. I haven't really been into Tomb Raider ever. Scalebound, looked like it would be pretty nice. Had to get a little bit more information about it though. Just the basic look and the basic idea that I kind of took from the announcement of Scalebound looked good. Dying Light also looked good. Evil Within, of course, looked good. Looking forward to trying that. Fable Legends. Now here you go, doing something unique with an established franchise, which I like, because Fable was really good. Fable 2 was good. Not as good as Fable. Fable 3, not as good as Fable 2. Have yet to try Fable The Journey, but what I did try of it, I liked. And it seems like the ones like Fable The Journey that focus less on the bloodline, and even with Fable, because there was no bloodline established at that point, they seem to do better. So the fact that you're not focusing on the bloodline anymore, you're focusing on making it a 4-player co-op experience where everybody brings something unique to the table. That's what I like to see. Have somebody be the magician. Have somebody be the magic user specific. Have somebody be a barbarian experience. Be proficient at fighting like a barbarian. Make it more like D&D, because that's something that I like about tabletop games and D&D and stuff like that. Is because when we sit down and we play as a group, everybody is somebody unique. You have the person who's the barbarian and is more proficient with fighting, and you got somebody who's more proficient with magic or sneaking or something. So that way everybody has something unique that they bring to the table. That way any experience that you come across, you don't feel like you just have to simply bash everybody's skull in to accomplish it. Sunset Overdrive, the reason outside of Fable Legends, and of course Evolve, which Evolve does look good also. But Sunset Overdrive is the game outside of Evolve and outside of Fable Legends that has convinced me to get an Xbox One. Probably no time soon, of course, but it has convinced me to get one. Simply because that to me should be how games should do. I mean, I think it's weird that Sunset Overdrive is getting so much attention, and it's getting more attention than a dull, gray, overshadowing 50 Shades of Grey kind of game, you know, where, oh look, how many different shades of gray and black can we put in here, and how dark can we make this look? You can still have a game that can be fun, can be a shooter, and can have color. It can be done. And this game proves it. So there you go. Also announced Halo the Master Chief Collection, which, okay, great. Again, I'm not into Halo. I've thought about going back and visiting Halo just to see what all the hype is about, and just to see if maybe my opinions have changed, because I know that Halo 2, I played it with a friend. I did some multiplayer with Halo 2. It left a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't, you know, I saw the ending and it just, I don't know. It just didn't seem like it was my kind of thing. But I can see the purpose to this, because it's kind of like the Metroid Prime trilogy. When it was released, it was the point of, you know, let's update the controls for the Wii to show everybody how Metroid Prime should be played, and to give it a smoother experience, and to have everybody who maybe didn't get the chance to experience Metroid 1 and 2 because maybe they didn't get a GameCube, they can get to experience the whole story. And that's kind of a good idea. Give us the Master Chief Collection, let people who maybe got into Halo with Halo 4, and maybe they didn't get a chance to play the others because they don't have an original Xbox or something, allow them to play 1 and 2. That's fine. I don't really care for it, because it just seems to me like you're just slapping a high definition skin over games that you can just get for way cheaper than the price of the actual game itself. I mean, I've talked about how I can go and pick up Xbox games for like $1 or $2 at some places, so I can probably find Halo 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 for less than the price of what you're going to charge for this. But again, that's just me. I see the point to it. I understand if you want to do the multiplayer and all this. I see the point to it. It's just not my thing. As well as Halo 5. Halo 5 did look really good. Just again, not really my thing. It was just nice to look at. And that's just me. And that's everything that I feel as far as for Microsoft's end. Because I don't really think of anything else that was announced that came like, oh, this is coming to 360, this is coming to Xbox One. I can't think of anything else. Sony, you did a lot better. I was unfortunately at work, so I didn't get to see the conference, but from what I've seen of little, you know, this is what Sony announced at E3, and seeing little tweets and other little articles about it, I have a pretty good idea. And I have to say that some of this stuff looks really interesting. Grim Fandango, of course, game that I'm looking forward to trying, because I understand it's a 16-year-old PC game, but the fact is it's being brought to a handheld, and I think that presents a lot of opportunities to not only introduce it to a new audience, but to get the people who love the original game into the hardware. It's kind of like bringing Don't Starve over to PS4. If you really like Don't Starve and you wanted to, but you didn't want to get a PC to play it, like me, you want to go and get a gaming PC just to be able to play it, I should say, then you can play it on your system. Yay! Far Cry 4, not going to talk about. I didn't see a thing about Far Cry 4. I could give a crap less about Far Cry. I have not played a single Far Cry game in my life. I don't know the first thing about it, and I just don't feel like talking about it because I don't want to give that information. I don't know the first thing about it. Same thing with Little Big Planet 3. I understand people love Sackboy and people love, you know, the Little Big Planet stuff. Not my thing. But yeah, besides that, you talked about that. You talked about Destiny also. It just would have been nice for me to be able to get my hands on Destiny. Just to try it and see, because Destiny is one of those games that I'm kind of in the middle about. I'm kind of 50-50. I'm like, yeah, part of me wants to try it, another part of me, no. Rainbow Six, no, don't care about Rainbow Six. I'm sorry. I played a Rainbow Six game a while back. No, no. Assassin's Creed Unity, really good. Looking forward to Assassin's Creed Unity. I know it's coming out for Xbox One and PC as well, but the first time that I saw it and the first time I heard about it was during Sony's E3 press conference. That's the reason why I'm talking about it here. Assassin's Creed Unity looks really good. The fact that it takes place during the French Revolution, and the fact that it's also multiplayer, which I love, because right now the multiplayer with Assassin's Creed stinks. It's basically assassin versus assassin, and I get taken out in like 5 seconds. I don't even get a chance to even know who my target is. So, and something that I'm more for is for games like Syndicate that allow me to play online with other people and work as a team to take out the enemies, to work as a team to achieve the goal. I like co-op better than I do competitive. See, because competitive to me, and this is a completely different rant, but just competitive can get too competitive, it can get too edgy, and a lot of times it can get people's feelings hurt, it can get their egos hurt, and to me it's just not worth it. That's a different rant for another time. I just prefer co-op. So the fact that this is up to 4 players co-op, looking forward to it. Really think that it's going to be really, really good, along with the Order 1886. Again, it would be nice to get my hands on the Order 1886 just to try it and see what the gameplay is like. But just based upon the previews that I've seen of it and what I understand of it, you know, I think it's going to be great, you know. Spooky, pseudo-historical, third-person shooter. Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. Entwined, yeah, a twin-stick action game, which reminds me a lot of Brothers, a tale of I don't remember the whole thing now, but anyway, if you ever played Brothers, whether it was on PS3 or Xbox Live, Brothers was a really good game, and that's what Entwined reminds me of. It reminds me of this game where you have to sort of control each brother at the same time, as well as individually for certain actions. Going to be real interesting. Now, Let It Die. Oh yeah. Let It Die looks really, really good. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a Suda51 game, which makes it even better. Because I love Suda51 and really enjoy his games. Yeah. Let It Die looks really good. Dead Island 2, well, really don't care about that much. No gameplay footage was shown of Dead Island 2, and I really don't care because I'm getting a little bit tired of zombie games, even though there's nothing wrong with a good zombie game. Dead Rising 3 looked really good. But it just seems like the natural go-to. Like, okay, so what can we do here to make this game sell? Let's make it a first-person shooter, and let's make it a zombie game. Okay, you can do other things, I'm sure. But for people out there that like Dead Island, I'm sure this was a good announcement. I'm just not a Dead Island fan, not my thing. But still, what is my thing? Bloodborne. Now, a dark fantasy game from the people who brought us Dark Souls. So it's a Dark Souls successor. So I'm instantly thinking of like, okay, what is this, like London or England? It's a really dark city. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Dishonored, kind of. But with hellish monsters, huge weapons, and the difficulty of Dark Souls. I mean, come on. What's not to love about Bloodborne? Bloodborne is definitely going to be a day one purchase for me. I'm probably going to go and pre-order it as soon as I can, and I'm going to buy a PlayStation 4 to accompany it. Bloodborne was definitely one of the reasons for me to buy a PS4, on top of the fact of there was already Assassin's Creed games and stuff like that. Abzu, I don't really know much about. I'm sorry, I can't really talk about Abzu. I know it's from the people that made Journey, and Journey was a really great game from what I got to experience of it. I just didn't really get to see anything of Abzu to talk about it. And I have a list of games here that Sony talked about, and I'm not going to sit there and watch the trailers for each one of these and talk about it. I'm just going to go down the list and talk about what I do remember seeing and what I have opinion about. So Battlefield Hardline, no, gonna skip it. Don't care. It's Battlefield. It's just like Halo. It's just like Call of Duty. It's just a ridiculously canned game where they try to, continue to slap something in there and call it innovative, and it's not. Again, if you're a Battlefield fan, no offense. I know people like first-person shooters. I don't. They're like RPGs. You have to have a very niche, you have to have a very specific set of conditions for me to play an RPG, and it has to be a very specific set of conditions for me to play first-person shooter, like Syndicate. I liked Syndicate. I'll play that. If they announce a Syndicate 2, I'll play that. It has to be very specific. It can't just be a first-person shooter just because it's a first-person shooter. Moving on. No Man's Sky. That one is about 40-60. As far as don't care. I mean, a part of it interests me in the fact of it can be any game you want it to be. So you can essentially build it to, you can get a different game experience every time. You could be fighting a dinosaur one game, you can be in outer space as a robot the next. And it kind of reminded me a lot of Project Spark over on Microsoft's camp. And I don't know, I'm just not big into this whole creating the whole world thing. I'm not big into that. If I wanted to create a world, I could just buy like RPG Maker and just do that, make my own game and just play that forever. I want to be able to play a game for a story, and I want to get an experience out of it. So the whole idea of games like Little Big Planet, No Man's Sky, Project Spark, they're just not my thing. So kudos to those who like it, and I kind of see the interest in it, just kind of like how Project Spark kind of has my interest. But again, kind of leaning more towards no at this point. The Last of Us, whoop-de-freaking-do. You remastered The Last of Us, a game that came out like last year. I don't see the point to this. I'm going to buy The Last of Us, and I'm going to buy it for my PS3, and that's what I'm going to play it on, because that's the system that it came out for. I don't really believe in remastered editions. I've already talked about this a little bit with Halo. So because it just seems to me like that's not the way that the game was meant to be played. It was meant to be played on the PS3. It was meant to be played on the Xbox. It was meant to be played on such and such. But for those people that maybe missed the PlayStation 3 era because they were such hardcore 360 fans that now they've jumped ship and gone over to PS4, I see the purpose to this. And I really am looking forward to seeing what it does, but I just don't think it's going to be much different. It's kind of like it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto 5 and how they said, well, you can bring over your 360 game data. That is a game changer right there. If you can do that, Sony, with every game, I think you've got this one. Because imagine if you can say, yeah, oh, and by the way, we're getting Mass Effect 4, and you can bring over all your Mass Effect games from the 360. Imagine that. That would be awesome if you could do that for every single game that came out. Yeah, get Watch Dogs for the PS4, and if you happen to have it on the 360, bring your game save over. That would be awesome. But yeah, don't care about Grand Theft Auto 5. That's just me. I was into Grand Theft Auto back in the day. I liked 1. I liked 3. But it just gets monotonous on me. It gets to the point where all the missions start becoming the exact same thing, and I just don't care anymore. And I just can't justify the price tag for a Grand Theft Auto game just to basically run around and cause chaos and never follow the story. Metal Gear Solid 5, yes, yes, yes. Please, more. Oh man, love me some Metal Gear. I gotta get back into that series. I have not played it since the PlayStation 2. I really gotta get back into it. Looking forward to it. Batman Arkham Knight looks sweet. I just haven't played any of the Batman games yet. I haven't played Arkham City or anything, and I know that I'm probably gonna have a lynch of a mob come in here and like beat me because, oh, you haven't played Batman Arkham City? No, I haven't played Arkham City or Arkham Asylum or Arkham Origins. I haven't played any of them. I don't really care to. I don't know. They look like they're really good, but I'll just pass on them for now. I have enough stuff to play. Uncharted 4, Thief's End. You teased that. Really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to the fact that, you know, you're continuing with Uncharted. You're not just going to just end it just because. So yeah, good job with that. Now we move on to the winner of E3. We move on to Nintendo and its big announcements. So yeah, and I really do feel as though Nintendo won E3. They came out with a lot of great announcements, and pretty much from the get-go, even when they announced Amiibo and they had, you know, Iwata and Reggie fighting in like Dragon Ball style, that was awesome. That's the way you kick off a show. And I think that they did better in 45 minutes announcing all the games that they did than what Microsoft and Sony did in 90 minutes. Because they didn't really try to waste our time. They didn't come out with long 5-minute trailers. They didn't do a lot. They just showed the games and moved on. Look, we showed you this game. Took about 2 minutes talking about it. Here's the name of it. Let's move on to the next. So yeah. Now, when it comes to Nintendo and what they announced, looks like you got some good stuff coming, Nintendo. I mean, you showed off the Legend of Zelda. Oh my God, Zelda. You know me, I love Zelda, but this world looks gorgeous, and it looks like it's going to be this huge Skyrim, Elder Scrolls like experience where I can just go any direction and do whatever I want, and it will be fantastic. Awesome. You showed off Splatoon. Again, don't really care for it. I like the fact that it's a colorful shooter, which I kind of talked about a little bit with Sunset Overdrive, and how you don't have to have a dark game to be a shooter. But just Splatoon just doesn't look like it's my thing. It looks too chaotic for me. I'm sorry. Mario Maker, no. Again, just not my thing. I'm not into the whole sim, create your own world stuff. If I was, I just get a piece. I just put Sims on my PC and I just sit there and I just build crap. I'd get RPG Maker and I'd do that. I want to be able to play a game for a story, and I want to have an experience. I don't want to just build stuff. I get the reason why people are looking forward to it and why they like it, because it is kind of a neat concept, just not up my alley. Okay, what else here? Oh yes, Amiibo. Believe it or not, the biggest thing that Nintendo has brought out is this Amiibo. This has got me the most interested and the most intrigued, and I'll tell you why. Because you're just like, but it's just Skylanders and Disney Infinity. But it's not. Because whereas Skylanders is stuck to Skylander specific games, and the same thing with Disney Infinity. You're only stuck playing those games within the world of Disney Infinity. Amiibo can take place throughout the entire Nintendo universe, which is what's got me the most excited about it. Because I want to see how they're going to take something that's supposed to work with Smash Brothers and leveling up the character to make them stronger, and make it work with Mario Kart 8. Make it work with Super Mario 3D World. Make it work with Mario Party 10, Yoshi's Woolly World. Make it work with these other games. And can you imagine that in the future? Can you imagine it? Because it could be potential DLC. You could have it to where essentially something. It's kind of like that transfer pack that was back on the 64. That's what it reminds me of. The transfer pack. Hey, if you played Perfect Dark on the 64 and you had the Game Boy version and you used the transfer pack, you'd get like a weapon. You'd get something different. You'd get something from the other. I can see that working like this. I can see it being as far as like, okay, so here is this game on the 3DS, and when you use the Amiibo character, it saves it, so that way when you put it onto the Wii U game, with like the Wonderful 101, Mario shows up as one of the heroes, or your Mii is now different, or has a new item, or it has a lot of potential, and it's that potential that got me really looking forward to this. I mean, I'm probably going to end up emptying out my wallet and buying every single one that comes out. But just because I want to have something to fill up this room a little bit more. So that way when I get back on camera, you have something a little bit more to look at. But yeah, I think Amiibo is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be better than Skylanders and Infinity. I'm calling that now only because, again, Disney Infinity, you're stuck within that world. Skylanders, you're only stuck within the Skylander games. Amiibo isn't just Smash Brothers. It's Smash Brothers for the 3DS. It's Smash Brothers for the Wii U. It could be Mario Kart 8. They could patch it to work with Mario Kart 7. They could probably patch it to work with Super Mario 3D Land. You know, it could work with Resident Evil. It could work with Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. There's all kinds of potential. They could go back and patch all the 3DS games and make this thing work with them. And it's that kind of potential of thinking, if I get the Luigi figurine and it's pumped up and I go and I play Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, maybe there'll be some stronger ghosts. It'd be like unlocking hard mode. There's all kinds of great potentials with Amiibo. Really looking forward to that. Already talked about Zelda. So really looking forward to that. I know I just saw it, but I've forgotten a lot of the stuff that they already talked about. They confirmed the Star Fox, which, thank you for finally giving us a Star Fox. I mean, thank you for finally giving us a Star Fox. I mean, oh my lord, we did not get a Star Fox on the Wii, and I about cried, man, because that thing was screaming Star Fox technology. And if you didn't come out with it for the Wii, I probably would have been even more upset. Because at least we got Star Fox 64 for the 3DS, even if it was just a 3D remake. I mean, come on. Miyamoto also announced 2 other games that he's working on. I don't remember the names of them. I think they're like Project Robot and Project something else. Looking forward to hearing more about those down the line. Let's see here. You talked about Yoshi's Woolly World, which was great. Really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to trying that out. You announced Bayonetta 2, and you showed some stuff about it. I'm like, yes. So Bayonetta 2 looks awesome, and you announced the fact that Bayonetta 1 is going to be included. So thank you. You saved me the trouble of having to buy Bayonetta. I talked about this in the previous video. I know that there's some people that probably disagree with my opinion as far as the box art, but I don't care. To me, box art is not that important. It never will be. I have some games that are on my gaming shelf right now that I can turn around and look, and they're just in plain boxes. They're just in plain. You go to Target, you buy like $5 just blank, generic DVD holders. They're in those. So because I don't care. I got the game disc. That's all I really need. Do I like having the box art and the manual? Yes. But if I got just the game in a freaking DVD box, I'll take it. You talked about a Kirby game. I don't care too much about a Kirby game, honestly. You talked about Xenoblade Chronicles X. So congratulations, Nintendo. You have done it. You have managed to do something that nobody else has been able to do. Everybody keeps talking about, you have to play Xenoblade, you have to play Xenoblade, it's one of the best RPGs ever. And I'm like, I'm not really that into RPGs, I'm going to pass on it. But now you've convinced me to go off and buy Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii. And I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play it. Just because of what you showed of Xenoblade Chronicles X. It looks really good. And it looks like I'm going to really enjoy it. Later on, you announced Pac-Man for Smash Brothers. Thank you. That was one of my predictions. I kept thinking you need to add in Pac-Man. I mean, Namco Bandai makes Pac-Man games, So Namco Bandai is developing Smash Brothers. If Pac-Man isn't included in there, it will feel like a big waste of an opportunity. There are a wealth of indie games that are going to be brilliant. I mean, again, Devil's Third. Oh my, that just looks so great. And of course, I already know that Ironfall is right around the corner at some point, as well as the new Shantae. So, plenty of stuff coming from Nintendo to keep me occupied throughout the next year, as well as stuff from Sony, as well as stuff from Microsoft. So this year's E3 was a grand presentation. And I'm glad that they talked about games for once. Because a lot of times when they talk about like the 3DS and they were revealing it, it was great you were showing off new technology and you were showing off a new game system, but you're killing your time. You have 90 minutes and you're spending 40 of it talking about the specs and the capabilities of what the 3DS can do. That's nice. Talk about the games that come out for it. And so it's just nice to see that they focused on games this year and they didn't try to focus as far as like... There was a little bit of mudslinging from Sony. I know. They talked about a camera that was optional. But I'm glad they didn't focus so much on trying to mudsling each other and trying to talk about who's got better specs and all this stuff. And it was just a good E3. I still think Nintendo took the crown. They had the best E3. They won it. Like I said, they did better with a 45-minute presentation than Sony and Microsoft did of 90. And they talked about more games that I'm interested in. The only one that I can really recall not being interested in was Kirby. Even with Splatoon, a game that I'm not going to buy and I don't really have any interest in right now, it at least kept my attention because I'm like, that is an interesting mechanic. Kirby I just didn't care about. I'm not a Kirby fan. But, yeah. That's my thoughts on E3. I know it's been a long video, or a long narration. A lot of stuff to talk about. Make sure you share your opinion. What did you think about E3? Did you think that the games that were announced were great? What are you looking forward to the most? Share your opinion. Let's start a discussion. Let's get this thing going. It's going to be real good. Otherwise, that's my 2 cents, guys, and I know that you can take it, leave it, throw it out the window. Doesn't really matter. It's my opinion, and at the end of the day, it's going to stay the same. But still, looking forward to getting my hands on a Xbox One, looking to get my hands on a PlayStation 4, trying out the tech, trying out these awesome games that they've announced coming out, and getting way, way, way more time on my Wii U than what I'm already getting now. So, yeah. And for some reason I still can't end this video. Yeah, I have a real problem with that. But thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to you later.